Okay, so today I'm going to be touching up this shot here, which was originally done in OpenToonz, and so I've brought it up in OpenToonz. Basically, the the characterization and rendering of Akari was pretty good in this shot, so I didn't really see a need to redo that. The problem I have is that the the bad guys in the background are not really tweened properly. You could argue that maybe Akari's could be tweened better too, like between those two headshots. What I've found is if I always preface it by saying in an anime, because this isn't true for every kind of animation you might have to do, but in this case what I find is that if you have a situation like you have with her where you're going from here to there, okay, generally if it snaps in one frame, you can almost get away with it here because the movement is very small, but generally if you're going to snap from here to there, it really is, everything just looks better if you put in one or maybe two tweens to get you from here to there. Now, the we're actually going to have to go back to Krita, and here's why. It turns out that the bad guys are baked in to this shot. So, fortunately, as you can see, here we have a shot of Mr. Big, and the other guys weren't drawn in there yet. So that works to my advantage, because what I can do now is I'm going to essentially solo each of these layers, save them out as images in a temporary folder, bring them into Krita, and that way I can work independently with. I'll bring in all the images of her, of which there are only two, and the first image of Mr. Big, which can remain static throughout the shot. So I'll grab the background, Mr. Big, and the two frames of Akari separately. And then what I'll do is I'll use these two shots of the bad guys as reference material, but this is what will be animated. We'll just basically smooth that motion out a bit. So with that, let's get busy. First step would be we're going to if you mute a track in OpenToonz, when you render it, it'll still appear. So that's important to understand. So this turns on and off what you see when you're previewing or you're in, let's call it low resolution mode or whatever. I consider this to be a quote-unquote preview and this to be a quote-unquote render. The nomenclature is strange because OpenToonz considers this to be actually a preview. So it's a little confusing, but so I'll try not to botch the terminology too much. But the point being, if I want to render out the elements of this shot separately, individually I should say, then what I'm going to have to do is turn off these buttons. This turns them off only at the render stage. So I'm going to go ahead and kill all of these. And by the way, it looks like I used the plastic tool to do this animation of Akari. So actually that's really, really, really good news. Because actually, let's stop the presses right now and deal with this. Because what that means, I'm going to go ahead and turn these guys back on. What that means is I can go ahead and tween Akari's motion very, very, very easily using the plastic tool. So with that, I'm going to hit the X key and go into animate mode. And so here's, and I need to turn this on, but so here's where she winds up, and there's where she comes from. So let's go ahead and let's see which, it looks like it's this bone that's moving, so let's just insert a key. Okay, so that inserted a key. And I guess I can't. I was thinking I could toggle between keys with the comma and the period, but that just toggles between drawings. So Therefore, just want to split the difference here. Okay, let's just see how that plays. Okay, that's better. That improved it. Okay, just putting in a tween on twos. So that's cool. That means I'll be able to render out the entire Akari sequence without the background and without Mr. Big, and Wango Bango, we will be good to go on Akari. We don't actually have to do anything, although we could, of course, when we bring it into Krita, if we want to do some touch-ups, we could certainly do that. But, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this scene. Okay, and so with that in mind, let's kill this, everything except Akari, so that when we render, we get an image sequence that has nothing but her in it. Now it appears to me, let me see here, it appears to me that the shadow layer, oh, I see. Well, wait a minute. Here's non-preview mode, preview mode, and the shadows are overlapping her. So the questions are, number one, where are the shadows? They seem to be baked in. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, that is definitely a problem. That means that, and because of my oft-mentioned dyslexia issue, I think what I must have done here, let me see something. I wonder if, because it's interesting that in the preview we don't see it, makes, let's look at this for a moment. If I go here and I go to the edit mesh, oh sorry, we need to not be in preview mode. Okay, let me just look at this for a moment. No, okay. I was just checking to see if I had somehow decided to clamp the shadows using the plastic tool level. I will not try to explain that now. That would be unfortunately kind of complicated. But the bad news is that I am going to have to go into this shot and I'm going to have to edit those shadows out. Probably the easiest way to do that. Okay, yeah, because you can see over here what it turns out is I was assuming this was a Toonz raster level, but it's not. It's a standard raster level. So actually the best solution would be to just go in and fix it right now here in OpenToonz. So I'm going to go ahead and save my scene again. I'm always saving frequently just to be safe. And then what I want to do is hit the eraser. And before I can do anything with these drawings, I've got two choices. I can either hit F3 and I can disconnect the drawings from the plastic tool, or in this case probably the better choice would be just to go to the drawing interface. As you can see, okay, sorry, that's the wrong level, so let's go back here. We want this level, and why are we seeing, I hate to be that guy. I'm the guy who right now who is using his software right here on YouTube and doesn't seem to know what the heck he's doing. But I'm going to go into this drawing level. Oh, there we go. Okay, I just okay, I just needed to turn it off and back on. Okay, so it's because it's controlled with the plastic tool, I should be able to just go in here and do some erasing. Now, I will say that I have seen this happen very frequently, where OpenToonz actually, if you go in and try to do erasing in a Toonz or in a standard raster level, OpenToonz just blows up. It just crashes. So that's why I'm saving my work very frequently. I'm going to soften the edge of this brush, and I'm going to hope at this point that I can get away with what I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do here is a bit laborious. One could probably make the case that it might be faster to just jump into Krita and redraw Akari. But I like the drawings, I like the expression, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with it. So just a quick whip around here. So I'm basically fixing the apparent alpha pre-multiply issue that seems to exist here. I've noticed this is another thing that happens quite frequently in OpenToonz. Let me see something here. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. What you see going on here is that you see when I did that, it actually has this dark. That darkness right there is actually an anomaly, but it just happens that it's the right color. Yeah. That's funny. So I'm gonna just go here. In other words, the unpremultiplied edge color happens to be about the same color as my normal drawn outlines. So it's just pure stupid dumb luck here that turned out to be the case. And that means that no matter how I erase this, I kind of can't screw it up, because wherever I erase, it's drawing a gray line for me. So didn't see that coming. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that to my advantage here, like to an extreme. And if this drawing is even being used in the animation, which I'm not sure if it is offhand, then I'll go ahead and just redraw it by creating a modified version of this drawing that I'm tweaking. So the upshot of all this, meaning that I'm only going to have to touch this up one time. And while I'm here, another thing I'm going to do, if I can, is extend this higher and the bottom lower, so that it doesn't come off out of the rendered area. I don't know if that made sense. What's going on is when the plastic tool deforms her body, her head, her neck, blah blah blah, some of the other bones react, and the result is that that this bottom edge actually jumps up a little bit above the rendered area, and so there's an anomaly there that would have to be cleaned up later. So I'm going to try to just simply avoid that problem by just painting both above and below. You'll see what I mean here in half a second. So, okay, so that's fine. So let's do a save all, because when we save all, it not only saves the scene, but it also saves the constituent images. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the B key, Rgb Sampler, so that just hitting the R key allowed me to sample the shadow tone here. Oops, okay, that brush is going to be a little bit touchier. So this should be interesting. Now I should be able to actually erase back into that and have the line up here. And it appears to be there even when I render, so again, just pure dumb luck really here. RGB. Okay, and now grab the brush and let's just go like this. Okay. Right? So we're just going to extend this down. R key to sample this. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and fix the outlines there. No big deal. I don't strictly know if what I'm doing right now is actually necessary. I'd have to go back and look at the animation, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing it probably in this area right here. Jump up above the rendered area and create a little bit of a hole. I know I saw it at the top. I'm not sure if I saw it at the bottom, so I need to come back and touch up those outlines, of course. R key to sample the color. If this was a Toonz raster level, I could also be hitting the G key to sample the style. So R key samples color. Well, and I shouldn't. I'm steering you wrong here, folks, because those are hotkeys that I set up. The R key is native to OpenToonz. The G key is not. Normally, the G key, if I remember correctly, invokes the geometry tool. Okay, now I'm going to again save all, save early, save often. That's my motto. Okay, so I'm going to RGB sample this. Boom. Okay, so that gives me my charcoal color. That's what I've been using for the outlines. And here, I think just to make life simple, I'm going to use the brush, which is a pencil, which I normally have used in OpenToonz for inking, and just go ahead and fix that up. And fix that up. Okay, that seems a little dense to me. So I'm going to make this just a little thinner. Yeah, and then I sort of have to scribble it in a bit, but that's okay. Whoops. Getting sloppy. Okay, I think that'll probably do the trick. One thing I'm a little bit taking exception to would be this weirdness right here. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. Probably, I'm keep hitting the control key because I'm used to it in Krita, but probably I could also, you know, as long as we're going to be leveraging this drawing, let's go ahead and do a few things to make sure the drawing is up to scratch. Obviously we've got problems here as well. So fortunately we can just use our pencil brush to tweak it. R key again, B key for the brush. That feels pretty good. Obviously over here does not. So like I said, carpe diem. Let's go in, seize the day, and just try to fix a few things. R key, boom, B key. Ah, we got the wrong color. That's okay. Sample that. Yep, we got it. B key. All right. Boy, oh boy, when you zoom in close, you do find issues, don't you? You do find issues. I mean, look at this. This sort of stuff, you know, tends to sneak by a lot in my work, and I've been cracking down on it big time lately. Really trying to raise the quality. And you know, I'm not too hard on myself. I mean, I spent the first several months on this project just really learning how to animate and use the tools at my disposal. OpenToonz, Blender, and Krita being pretty much it. And here I think we need to hit erase, which means I've got to bring this down to like 3 pixels. And let's just fix up these corners. I don't know what the heck happened there. Let's, I guess let's use the outline color. Yeah, I think what happened here was I drew this with, it was probably originally a Toonz raster level from another scene, and I wanted to reuse the drawing, and I knew at the time that I would be able to simply use one drawing and just modify it with the plastic tool, and so that's why this is what it is. It's a regular raster level, because I just for simplicity I just used the drawing. I could have obviously imported the Toonz raster level at that time, but basically I don't remember exactly what I did. So if I was working in Krita, I'd be doing the exact same thing here anyway. It's all 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'd be going through and just tweaking and touching up. So okay, I think oh yeah, the only other thing I definitely wanted to do on this shot was I wanted to add a little bit to her, to the bottoms of her eyes, her lashes, if you will. Okay. Now this shot, the only thing that changed was her eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate here and just tweak the eyes the same way I would have done it before, which is to, I would have switched to this brush and then went like that. Okay, again, to be clear, I'm not 100% sure that this shot is even used, but I think when she turns her head, it might be useful to have that in there. So, all right. Okay, so one other thing that occurs to me as I'm looking at this is that we could really improve her eyes quite a lot this way. Let's just go ahead and create almost like a shadowed area. Right? And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom with the hair color. Okay, and now let's just grab complete white, and probably the best thing to do would be use the technical drawing pen. Where the heck is that? This one. Boom. Boom. Okay, I like that. What I don't like, frankly, is this. Now we can kind of get away with it this way because yeah. Right. So actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this and I'm going to grab the S key. I'm going to select everything that I know is in there. Control C, go back here, Control V. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing here. Might as well leverage the stuff that I know is working. Control C, Control V. Okay. Alright, so save all, so the pictures get saved as well as the scene itself. And now I believe we can render. Yeah, see, that's where she changed the drawing. Okay, so now one thing that's a little concerning is I'm not seeing, oh, I know why. This is the wrong drawing. So we need to switch to that drawing. Okay. Then all of this can be deleted. And we'll stretch drawing number 2 down to here. And now we should have exactly what we want. Now, her mouth. Which layer is her mouth? I'm guessing this is her mouth. Pop that off of there. Yeah. Yep, there we go. So look at her head. Look at her ponytail. Up here. Okay, I know what's going on. That's not actually the fault of the drawing. Let me show you what's going on here. Let's turn the plastic tool on, hit the X key, and we're going to edit the mesh. We got to get out of this mode, and here's the problem right here. Okay, the way you fix this, because what's happening is the plastic tool is deforming her, and it's clipping. I guess we need to be in animate mode, but this will show what's going on. Okay, see, there's your problem. So we can fix that actually kind of easily. What you do is you go into edit mesh mode, and we need to extend these points like so. Alright. And now I am pretty sure, and by the way, you could argue that her ponytail's like popping too high, but I think for this shot we can kind of sort of get away with it, so I'm letting it cache a little bit. But anyway, yeah, it looks like the problem is solved. So now we put her mouth in, and what we can do is go ahead and render the shot. So I'm going to hit Control R, and that pops open another window. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and save this as an image sequence. So this is going to be L anime, and I'm just going to go into the temp folder. Okay, and it's a sequence of TIFFs. I think I'm going to do pings. So we're going to go, this is shot 0060 Akari dot ping. Okay. And so now what's going to be rendered is just Akari all by herself. And if I want to put a little bit of a shadow under her eyes, that's fine. I can just add that in Krita when I bring this into Krita. Okay, so that's the first component of the shot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn Akari off in the preview and everything. Now let's turn on Mr. Big. And again, because the background, this icon is not clicked, even though we can see Mr. Big, when we hit render, we get Mr. Big all by himself. Now, we have, again, the same problem we had before with the shadows. Let's see if that's, yeah, those shadows are baked in. So that's fine. This will be faster to clean up in Krita. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this in the same place. And we'll call this Mr. Well, actually, no, let's adhere to our naming convention. So we're going to 0060 Mr. Big dot ping. So what's going to happen is it's going to render all the frames. I don't want to even go to the trouble of trying to have it only render the frames I want. That's fine. It'll be really fast in the file browser to just delete the redundant images, or not. Actually, all I need is just drag one of them into Krita and I'm good to go. So okay, so that's that. And one of the things we're going to have to fix, by the way, is not only clean up the shadow situation, but also the revised Mr. Big doesn't have all this decoration, which, you know, you could argue maybe the decoration's cool, but it definitely introduces a lot of extra work for, I would argue, relatively marginal additional production value. So for that reason, heck with it. Okay, and here we've got a background that, forget it, I'm not going to mess with that because I can just pull that out of the my archive of background images. So with that, we go File, New, and it's going to be a custom document. And now we're going to File, Import Animation Frames. The first thing let's do is let's get Akari in there. So let's go Temp, and okay, yeah, I guess it started on image number 77. So let's just go down here till we get past. Where the heck is Mr. Big? It's a little strange, but we'll address that later. Not a big deal. So this should be good to go. Yeah. Okay, so we've got Akari in there. And again, this is shot number 60. So let's just go File, Save As, And this is going to be L anime Krita, and it's going to be 0060. Okay. Now we got to get Mr. Big in there. Where the heck did Mr. Big go is the question. So let's kill that. And I'm going on my other screen, I'm just going to go to the temp folder and see if Mr. Big is anywhere to be found. It appears that he is not. So I'm going to go ahead and seize the opportunity to kill all the images that are in the temp folder. Probably wise to keep it clean. So here, I frankly don't know what happened. It does appear that OpenToonz is acting stupid, and it's probably about to crash. I think it is about to crash. So with that, I'm going to kill it. I don't need to... I've saved it pretty frequently, so I'm going to go ahead and kill that. And check something here. Okay, it looks good. So what I can do is rerun OpenToonz, pull up this last shot, and re-render. It appears to me that Mr. Big probably got rendered to the wrong folder. And so, no biggie. So let's kill that and turn on that. So now we should only see Mr. Big. And these guys appear. So we'll have all three of those shots. And so we hit Control R to render it. And again, what we're going to try to do, if things want to cooperate and I'm not being silly, is go to the temp folder and let's go 0060 Mr. Big. I'll dispense with the dash and dot ping. And OpenToonz generally knows to save the image as a ping if you simply give it the ping extension. Now, I'm looking in the... Oh, there it is. Okay, Mr. Big is there. Okay, so good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going into Free Commander, and what I'm going to do is just switch to icon view, because it's going to go ahead and generate thumbnails, and then what I'll do is I'll just take the first image of Mr. Big, which I already have now. I can pull this into Krita as a new layer, and there it is. Now technically, obviously, Mr. Big should be below. Okay. And I'm also going to take the images that have the bad guys in there and just bring those in as a new layer as well. Okay, so I just have these three images, and basically they're really there for reference. Okay, so that means I can go ahead and delete everything out of my temp folder again, because and so one of the things I like about working with Krita is once you've brought the stuff into Krita, it's baked into the Krita file, so you don't have to worry about the images on disk. Okay, with that, we can kill these two images of the bad guys. And should we go ahead and throw in our background just for completeness? Well, okay. So what I'm doing is I'm looking in the anime folder. We've got a folder called IMG for image and BKGDS for backgrounds. And it's going to take a minute to generate thumbnails. So in the meantime, we've got work to do, don't we? Let's go in here and go into erase mode. And it looks like maybe the smoothing was stabilizer was turned on, which I don't really want. Usually when I'm erasing, I'd rather just scribble. I don't want stabilizing. So all we need to do is fix up this one drawing of Mr. Big, and then we'll be able to just animate the ninjas behind him and good to go. Alright, so I'll just do the right hand side of the drawing first. Not too worried about making any mistakes because it's going to be extremely easy to fix with a few deft strokes if I do make a bit of a boo-boo. Now what we might find is that there's some of that alpha pre-multiply garbage going on in the around the edges of Mr. Big that we can't really see. So let's address that right now. I'm going to solo the layer I just created and just fill it with black. Okay, that way I can bring it down here. Okay, that's kind of weird. Yeah, bring it all the way down to the bottom. And indeed, as I suspected, that reveals some issues. So what I'm actually doing right now is I just switched from the brush I was using, which is kind of my inking brush, switching to a pencil, just because the pencil has sort of variable opacity. It's a little softer and makes it somewhat easier to go ahead and clean up this edge garbage. Now, if you were really thinking ahead here for me, you might say, well, Dave, why don't you just, if this was a Toonz raster image or level in OpenToonz, then that means that there is an image sequence that resides on your hard drive somewhere where these images already are ready for me to just drag and drop into Krita, and you're correct. At the moment, I have no idea where they are. Don't know, don't care. So I will say that if I did do that, the likelihood is high that this edge problem that you have, it wouldn't be there in the original drawings. I believe that's an anomaly that is introduced by OpenToonz not knowing how to handle, I don't know, I mean, it's got a level settings for turning pre-multiplication on or off, so that should fix this, because this is the quintessential classic pre-multiply problem. Whenever you have software that doesn't deal with pre-multiplied images properly, this is what always happens. You get this halo. Okay. Now, a certain amount of the halo is not actually a bad thing, because I'm sampling this color, by the way, because it does, in this case, make Mr. Big show up a little better against the background. So, you know, as I said, it's not all bad. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and do some of the pitifully obvious fix-ups that are clearly needed. And actually, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample this, and I'm just going to go through and get rid of these. It is what it is. I've made my decision. I'm getting rid of them. So shouldn't take more than a couple. That can stay. Boom. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. That looks good. This is obviously somewhat questionable, but let's just kind of go with it here. And I think that's probably fine. Let's use the pencil for this. Yep. And here, this is just slop work that needs to be improved. A little bit of this noise here I don't mind. It's got, you know, a certain character to it. But plain old sloppiness. No, no, no. We gotta crack down on that stuff. So here, same issue. Same issue. It can take all of 1 minute to solve. Okay. And got a little bit of an erasing situation called for here. And I'm going to actually sample this and redraw this edge so that he has a little bit of that, oops, that's no good, a little bit of that backlit look. so that Mr. Big pops against the background just a little bit. Okay, and right here, I sort of noticed this earlier. Did I get it? I think I got it. The color, I mean. Did I sample the color successfully? Turning on the stabilizer just to help out a little bit with a couple lines here. And I do think that we should do the same thing up here. Okay, so it appears that Mr. Big's hair was in fact the same color as our charcoal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a skosh lighter. Okay, now this is just a little bit of tweaking to taste. I feel like I didn't do the world's greatest job here of making him symmetrical. That looks pretty good. Okay, file, save. Okay, and with that, the next step is going to be to go ahead and animate our bad guys, our ninjas coming in. So, unfortunately, I don't know for sure if I just hit the Control S before I hit play. So I might have just lost a whole bunch of work because I hit the play button and really did not expect Krita to crash. Krita does not crash very often, but it just did. So unfortunately, I probably just screwed myself, but maybe not. I don't remember. I do it so quickly now. I hit Control S that, and I do tend to fairly consistently hit Control S at strategic times, but let's see. I did. I hit Control S before I hit the play button. Good for me. Ha ha ha. Okay. So you guys are all out there going, yeah, go Dave. All right, so let's call this Akari. We'll go ahead and name our layers while I'm thinking about it. And then what I want to do is let's get rid of redundant keys, okay? So I'm curious, actually, let's also use this as a learning experience. Right now the image has 277.8 megabytes. Now, I wonder if that will decrease by getting rid of all these redundant frames. So those are gone. That's gone. Okay, boom, boom, boom. So this actually should go there. And then we can select all these and kill them as well. Oh, wait, strike that. Okay, technically we can't do that because I forgot her mouth, but the question is, did we do a great job on her mouth? Because if we didn't, you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Just turn that off. Let's go back here and kill those. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go Shift Control X to get rid of the keys. Okay, now what I'm going to do is sample this and erase her mouth. So having her mouth here and here, no problem. Alright, so now I'm going to actually hit Control Shift Insert, which will cause this layer to appear in the timeline. Control Shift Insert again. Okay, so now what I can do is get rid of these keys as well. And now all I got to do is get rid of the erroneous keys. You can see, as I described earlier, you can see some definite wackiness that OpenToonz introduced. Okay. Okay, and now with this, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go take the S key and select her mouth. Now let me just make sure her mouth falls fully within there. Okay, then I'm going to go select invert this selection. Now I can go delete, 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 delete. Okay, what did that do? Well, it got rid of everything but her mouth in this layer. So now I can obviously go in and make modifications to her mouth / lip sync. And I was correct. Actually, take a look here. 38.2. So that means that we, by just getting rid of those redundant keys and frames, we actually brought the size of the Krita file down to about 15% of what it had been. Okay, so now we got these guys showing up, and because we're pushing an hour, and I've got a few things I need to do today before I do some traveling, I'm going to go ahead and save this and stop here. And as you guys know, there will be more later.